I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Tuesday, May the 20th, 2014. The plight of jailed Jewish American Alan Gross was brought up last week at a rare meeting between a senior U.S. State Department official and her Cuban counterpart. Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs Roberta Jacobson met in Washington this past Thursday with Josefina Vidal, the Cuban Foreign Ministry's Director General for U.S. Affairs. The two reportedly discussed Gross, among other issues, who was arrested in 2009 for providing internet and computer access to the Jewish community in Cuba while working as a subcontractor for the U.S. Agency for International Development. Gross was charged with crimes against the state and sentenced to 15 years in a Cuban prison. And Reuters reported yesterday that a letter was sent to U.S. President Barack Obama last week that also addressed the imprisonment of Gross. The letter was from 44 top government officials, including former Director of National Intelligence under President George W. Bush, John Negroponte, as well as several former senior State Department officials. The letter urges the president to expand licensed travel to Cuba, as well as to engage in, quote, serious discussions with the Cuban government on security and humanitarian issues. And it says that any talks with Cuban government officials should be used as, quote, leverage to help secure Alan Gross's release. Family members of the Israeli victims of the 2012 terror attack in Bulgaria met yesterday with the Prime Minister of Bulgaria, Plamen Oresharski. As you may recall, 5 Israeli tourists were killed and 33 wounded in the attack, which occurred when a suicide bomber blew himself up on a tour bus in the resort town of Burgas. During the meeting, the Prime Minister returned some of the passports found at the scene to the survivors and families and said that there was significant progress in the ongoing investigation into the terror attack, but that it was not complete. The victims' families conveyed their disappointment with the investigation, saying that they have not been told any results as of yet. It is widely suspected that the terror group Hezbollah was behind the deadly attack, and just last month, Bulgaria's Interior Minister Svetlin Yovchev said he was sure of that fact, although he wasn't sure it could be proven in court. So far, 3 men have been reported as suspects in the attack, all with ties to Hezbollah. Bulgarian media reported last month that the suicide bomber was of Algerian origin and had trained in terror camps in southern Lebanon. And 2 others were named last year, an Australian and Canadian citizens of Lebanese origin. At the meeting with Oresharski yesterday, the families also expressed their protest of the decision by the European Union to label only Hezbollah's military wing as a terrorist organization, saying the entire Hezbollah organization should be designated as terror. The U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill yesterday to honor Israeli President Shimon Peres with the Congressional Gold Medal. Democratic Congressman Joe Kennedy of Massachusetts and Republican Congressman Trent Franks of Arizona announced yesterday that the legislation passed the House by voice vote. The 2 congressmen introduced the bill last year in the House, and a companion version of the bill was introduced in the Senate by Republican Senator Kelly Ayotte of New Hampshire and Democratic Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado, which passed in March. The Congressional Gold Medal is the highest civilian decoration in the U.S. It's awarded to an individual who performs an outstanding deed or act of service to the security, prosperity, and national interest of the United States. Congressman Kennedy said for over 70 years, President Shimon Peres has dedicated himself to the enduring bond that unites Israel and the United States. He said there has been no greater champion for our shared values and defender of our shared interests. The passage of this bill signifies that Congress and the American people stand strong in our support of Israel and her people. In recognition of his tireless efforts and of the friendship embedded deeply between our 2 countries, he said, "I am honored to join my colleagues in moving this bipartisan legislation forward." The bill now awaits the signature of President Obama. This Congressional Gold Medal would be the first awarded to a sitting president of Israel. And turning now to our Shalom TV programming for tonight, Tuesday, May the 20th. Coming up next at 6:30, The Israeli consul for Media and Public Affairs in New York City delivers a talk about Israel and the media from Temple Shalom in Greenwich, Connecticut. Then at 8 o'clock, Labor Party MK Merav Michaeli talks about her initiatives for improving social justice in Israel, with moderator, editor of the Jewish Daily Forward, Jane Eisner, from the SAGA in New York City. And at 9 o'clock, Voices of Israel features Women of the Wall leader Anat Hoffman. That's tonight on Shalom TV and ShalomTV.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Tuesday, May the 20th, 2014. I'm Teisha Bader.